The moment someone pulls away from you, your brain enters a state of immediate panic. Check your phone every few minutes. Replay the last conversation over and over, trying to find the exact second things went wrong. Eventually, you land on the most overused piece of advice on the modern internet, the no contact rule. You tell yourself you're going to stay silent for 30 days, 40 days, maybe a couple of months. You mark the calendar, cross off the dates, and wait. But as the days pass, something strange happens. The silence doesn't bring you peace. It brings desperation. Every unread notification feels like a physical hit to your chest. You find yourself opening their profile, checking their last seen status, looking for subtle signals in their stories, and asking mutual friends if they've brought your name up. If this sounds familiar, you need to understand something fundamental right now. You aren't practicing no contact. You are sitting in a psychological holding cell, serving a sentence you chose for yourself. Most people view distance as a strategy to manipulate someone else's emotions. They think if they disappear long enough, the other person will suddenly wake up, realize what they lost, and come running back with a tearful apology. But when you treat silence as a countdown timer, you aren't shifting the power dynamics of the relationship. You are handing complete control over your emotional survival to someone who has already chosen to step away from you. The human mind cannot heal while it remains in a state of passive expectation. Real distance isn't about counting days until someone notices you're gone. It is an intentional disruption of a cycle that was actively destroying your self-worth. Consider what actually happens inside your brain when a meaningful connection abruptly breaks. Neuroscience shows that romantic rejection activates the exact same neural pathways as physical pain and substance withdrawal. When someone you were attached to cuts off communication, your brain experiences a sharp drop in dopamine and oxytocin. It demands a fix. This is why your instincts betray you. Your brain demands reassurance, so it convinces you to reach out, send a casual check-in text, or view their latest post. When that impulse is suppressed during passive waiting, your mind looks for subtle workarounds. Refrain from texting, but you keep monitoring their digital footprint. Don't call, but you carefully curate your own social media posts, hoping to send indirect messages that prove you're doing fine without them. This state of hypervigilance keeps your nervous system stuck in a continuous fight-or-flight response. Cortisol floods your system, your sleep patterns degrade, your focus at work disappears, and your physical health starts to erode. Think you are playing a tactical game of chess. In reality, you are draining your own vitality while remaining entirely dependent on another person's validation. Take the case of a modern professional who spends weeks executing a textbook 30-day no-contact protocol. On paper, they haven't sent a single text. But internally, every decision they make during those 30 days is secretly calibrated for an audience of one. Buy new clothes, post specific photos. They go to places where they might bump into mutual acquaintances. They live in a state of suspended animation. When day 31 arrives and no message pops up, the carefully constructed facade collapses completely. They feel twice as broken as they did on day one, simply because their entire foundation was built on an external outcome they couldn't control. True leverage never comes from pretending to move on while secretly waiting by the door. If you are going to draw a line, it must be clean, absolute, and uncompromising. Partial boundary setting is just self-deception in disguise. First, direct communication must stop entirely. That means no polite check-ins, no reaching out on holidays, no happy birthday texts, and no passive-aggressive responses. If they leave a breadcrumb comment on your profile, the moment you make an exception because it's a special occasion, you communicate a clear message. Your boundaries are conditional, and your time can be bought with minimal effort. Second, digital access must be severed. Monitoring an ex-partner's social media acts as an ongoing psychological trigger. Every time you open their profile, you expose your brain to unpredictable variables that keep your emotional attachment alive. You read into who they followed, where they went, or why they looked happy in a photo. You end up torturing yourself with narratives created entirely by your own anxiety. Third, stop using mutual connections as informational channels. Inquiring about someone through shared friends keeps you tethered to the very dynamic you are trying to break. It creates a quiet pipeline of gossip that inevitably leaks back to the other person, proving that you are still emotionally invested and actively monitoring their life. Removing yourself completely is not an act of hostility. It is an act of preservation. When you fully remove your presence, you stop fueling the dynamic that allowed the other person to take your availability for granted in the first place. You create a genuine vacuum. And a genuine vacuum is the only environment where true perspective can form. To understand why complete distance alters relational dynamics, you have to look at the psychological mechanics of human memory and attachment. When a relationship ends or experiences severe friction, the immediate reaction of the person who initiated the space is often relief. When a relationship ends or experiences severe friction, the immediate reaction of the person who initiated the space is often relief, mixed with irritation. Their mind is focused on recent conflicts, emotional pressure, and the suffocating feeling of being pursued. If you continue to text, plead, or demand clarity during this phase, you validate their decision to pull away. You confirm their belief that you are needy, unstable, and easily accessible. However, when you vanish completely without drama or hostility, you disrupt their expected narrative. Human psychology operates heavily on contrast and predictability. When an expected behavior stops suddenly, the brain experiences a state of cognitive dissonance. As days turn into weeks, the initial relief fades. The human memory system naturally begins to filter out minor daily annoyances and starts recalling deeper, nostalgic memories. The brain prefers efficiency and balance, so over time, it softens bad experiences and highlights positive ones. This is the exact window where the fear of loss begins to develop. Up until this point, the other person operated under the assumption that you were a permanent fixture in their background, a safety net they could return to whenever they pleased. But when they see no social media post signaling distress, receive no middle-of-the-night texts, and hear no updates through mutual friends, the reality of your absence finally sets in. They begin asking themselves uncomfortable questions. Did they move on? Did they meet someone else? Was I the problem? Curiosity is one of the most powerful drivers of human behavior. The moment their mind shifts from feeling pressured to feeling curious, the balance of emotional power shifts completely. But this mechanism only triggers if the silence is real, absolute, and backed by actual personal transformation. The ultimate goal of drawing back is not to win someone else back. It is to win yourself back. If someone eventually returns to your life, but you haven't changed your internal state, your habits, or your boundaries, the relationship will simply collapse back into the exact same destructive patterns. You will accept them out of relief, compromise your standards to keep them, and wind up right back where you started, exhausted, anxious, and disregarded. True growth requires a complete multidimensional overhaul of your life during this period of separation. Mentally, you must audit your thought patterns and emotional triggers. Stop romanticizing people who treated your presence as optional. Learn to tolerate the discomfort of solitude without reaching for cheap distractions or digital validation. Physically, direct your restless energy into disciplined physical exertion. Train hard, repair your sleep schedule, improve your nutrition, and change how you present yourself to the world. Physical discipline builds instant mental clarity and grounded self-respect, financially and professionally. Channel the energy you use to waste on overanalyzing text messages into building your career, mastering a high-value skill, or scaling a personal project. Financial momentum creates an irreplaceable sense of security and long-term leverage. When you invest heavily in these three pillars, your core identity shifts. You stop operating from a posture of scarcity and start living from a position of deep inner stability. Imagine two different scenarios when an ex-partner inevitably breaks the silence months down the line. In the first scenario, you've spent the time waiting. You reply within 2 minutes. Your voice carries subtle relief, and you immediately agree to meet up on their terms. They instantly recognize that you haven't grown, your time is still cheap, and they hold all the power. The old dynamic reinstates itself immediately. In the second scenario, you've spent the time building. When their message finally comes, it doesn't trigger a surge of panic or excitement. You read it calmly. You take your time to respond, not as a mind game, but because your life is genuinely full, demanding, and structured around your own priorities. When you interact, you speak from a position of quiet strength, unbothered by whether they stay or leave. That shift in internal baseline is what real dominance looks like. It is the quiet, immovable realization that your life moves forward, with or without anyone's approval. Thanks you for watching. See you in the next video.